Dylan Perry lived and breathed New York City. The city was in his bones, but his heart belonged to the bounce. The steady thump, thump, thump of a basketball on cracked pavement was his favorite song. He was just a kid from the Bronx, with a worn-out ball and a dream bigger than the city skyline. Every morning, he'd see the sun rise over the tall buildings, and he'd think about the court. He saw greatness in the legends who played on these same streets, their stories whispered on the wind like a secret only the hopeful could hear. His dream wasn't just about making a team, it was about honoring that legacy, about making the concrete sing his name. His sanctuary was a small, fenced-in court tucked between two old brick buildings. They called it the Cage. The chain-link nets clanked instead of swished, a sound Dylan had come to love. It was a raw sound, an honest sound. Here, he wasn't just a high school student. He was a creator, an artist with a Spalding for a paintbrush. He'd spend hours there, long after the streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows that danced with him. The world outside the cage, the blaring sirens, the rumbling trains, the symphony of a million lives. It all faded away. There was only him, the ball, and the hoop. Every dribble was a word. New York City was a living, breathing coach. Dylan found inspiration in its relentless energy, its constant motion. He saw the city's hustle in the way people navigated the crowded sidewalks, a dance of dodges, and he translated it into his footwork on the court. He saw the city's grit in the graffiti-covered walls, a burst of color and creativity against a hard surface, and he put that same flair into his game. The screech of a subway train coming to a halt was the sound of a sudden stop-and-pop jumper. The flow of traffic on the FDR Drive was the fluid motion of a fast break. The city wasn't just his home, it was his playbook. He'd ride the train home from school, his head leaning against the cool glass of the window, watching the world blur by. He'd see kids breakdancing on a flattened cardboard box, their movements explosive and rhythmic. In their power moves, he saw the strength needed to drive to the basket. In their fluid style, he saw the grace of a perfect layup. He watched a street vendor expertly flip a pretzel, a flick of the wrist so precise and practiced, and he thought about his own wrist action on his free throws. Everything was connected. The entire city was a training ground. The hardest opponent Dylan faced wasn't on any court. It was the clock. The school bell would ring, signaling the end of one life and the beginning of another. By day, he was Dylan Perry, student. He sat in classrooms, algebra equations, defensive schemes. He knew his grades were his ticket, the foundation upon which his basketball dreams had to be built. His mom always said, "No books, no ball. It's that simple." So he studied on the train, flashcards in one hand, his basketball bag resting by his feet. It was a difficult balance, a constant juggling act between his responsibilities, his passion. After school, the transformation began. He'd trade his textbooks for his high tops, head straight for the cage, while his friends were hanging out playing video games. Dylan was running drills. He'd set up cones, weaving through them until his legs burned. He'd practice free throws, make 10 in a row with his eyes closed. The setting sun would paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. He was locked in his own world. Tryouts for the high school team were a different kind of battle. The polished gym floor felt foreign compared to the familiar grit of the concrete. The squeak of sneakers replaced the clang of the chain-link net. Here, it wasn't just about flashy moves or one-on-one dominance. The coach was watching for something else. Teamwork, communication, a willingness to play a role. Dylan, so used to being the star of his own show in the cage, had to learn a new language. The language of we instead of me. He had to learn that a smart pass could be more beautiful than a contested shot. He made the team. Hearing his name called out felt like the sweetest victory, a culmination of all the lonely hours, all the sweat, all the sacrifice. But earning the jersey was only the beginning. Practice was intense, structured, and demanding. He learned about set plays and defensive rotations. He learned the importance of trusting the guy next to you. His streetball instincts were still there, that creative spark that made him special. But now he played for something bigger than himself.